someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better. I will not forget that night at Subterranean. It was summertime and it was raining. I was headed down the block to pay the meter for my car. That's when I saw the sad girl in the rain. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better. She was crying, real tears were streaming down her face. I could tell that she was in so much pain. So I reached out for a hug and she came in and snuggled up. I told her everything will be better someday. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I might not know much about you or what you're going through, but I know that someday it will get better.
Give me one reason to stay here, then I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, then I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you alone there. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I've got your number, and I know that you got mine. You know that I call you, I call too many times. You got to call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me. Give me one reason to stay here,
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, like most days, we have got a glorious panel here to break down this weekend's upcoming punchy kicky and get into all the shit talking and shenanigans that have been had since we last saw you fine folks. So before we get into all of the craziness that is in store for us this evening, take just a moment and go around here. First and foremost, the new kid himself, the coveted purple strap interim title challenger. RJ, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man? Pretty good week. Not so good card, but yeah. And like last week, a repeat just for Meter, because I forgot to send him a message about Discord. You can go ahead and go on Discord, and the links in the description, and it is on the bottom of this broadcast on the banner the entire time we're streaming tonight. And go over to Discord for I'm No Joe and see all the news and recent events that's not brought up during this lovely broadcast, and our fan Q&A segment where you can go in and ask any question, and we can answer it right here live on the broadcast. Just for you, man.
Oh, and then as it is more often than not across the octagon from myself, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, sir?
I'm here. A lackluster card at best. So,
Right.
nothing that has made me excited, to be quite honest, about that entire card.
I completely understand. RJ and I were talking about this yesterday, right after your show last night. And we're like, this card kind of sucks. But
I honestly thought about taking the night off.
Yeah, so did I.
I wouldn't have blamed either one of you for that.
In that case, it's a wrap, boys. See you guys later.
Yeah, we almost yawned this show right out of existence yesterday. So luckily, there really isn't a whole lot for us to actually break down on the card. We've actually got considerably more news and recap than we actually do breakdown for this upcoming card. And the good thing is that some of this news and some of this recap stuff is actually a lot more fun than the card we've got coming up this weekend. So first and foremost, we will jump back to last Friday to the Bellator card. There was some absolutely interesting matchups on that event. I will give them that. I don't know where the fuck they brought those judges in, but it's good to see the UFC is not the only organization that has trouble with moron scoring fights. Bobby King is a tough son of a bitch. I will absolutely fucking hats off to you, sir. Bobby King is one tough motherfucker. But 30-27, I struggled to see that as anything beyond much of a close split. But one of the judges gave it to him 30-27, and he got taken down like 4 fucking times, couldn't stop it, was eating left jabs through 3 fucking solid rounds. So how he won 30-27 rather, I would be interested to discuss that scorecard with that judge. But I think pretty much everybody who watched that fight knew who actually won it. But the one that did go the proper way, thankfully, Mr. Jackson, as Linton Vassell calls him, Jason Jackson went out and just did fucking work on Paul Daly. It's gonna be real hard to deny him the next crack at that fucking belt. I feel everybody that they have put in front of Jason Jackson, he has just outworked, outpaced, outstruck, and looked great fucking doing it. Paul Daly being no fucking exception. So I know that Daly's getting a little closer to the tail end of his career. He's definitely got the clubhouse and eyesight, but he's still very, very fucking dangerous. And Jason Jackson neutralized him the entire goddamn fight. So that dude looked fucking spectacular. Speaking of people who did look spectacular on that card, Aaron fucking Pico has finally started paying attention to all the shit those boys in Sanford are drilling into his fucking head. Don't rush into every situation. Take your time. Stand behind your jab. Let your fucking fighting get you to where you want. Don't rush things. That's how you get knocked the fuck out. And it's starting to sink in. You can see he's getting better. He's actually maturing a little bit as a fighter, I feel. He's starting to develop a fight IQ. You could see him in the moment thinking and moving intelligently, not rushing when he should have, or when he would have rather, a year or two ago. So we're starting to see Aaron Pico develop, and that is a fucking scary thing for the opposition and a great thing if you're on Team Pico. It's that kid got thrown to the fucking wolves at 18 and a half, and people forget he came into the organization. He came into professional fighting right out of the gate against fucking killers. They never gave him a fucking warm-up. His first pro fucking debut was right out against the fucking slaughtering machines, and he never got a fucking foot taken off the gas. But he seemed to have figured his way out here, and he's starting to turn into a real bad motherfucker. I'm kind of excited to see it. I'm very happy to see that. I don't know if anyone that was even talking about this card saw that coming, but holy shit, that fucking Lemminger knockout. Jesus fucking Christ, that one rattles your fucking teeth watching the replays on that motherfucker. They definitely had some fucking great showings rather. The problem for me was when you got to that main event Friday nights. Holy shit. I will say this. Yaroslav Amosov did exactly what he needed to do to neutralize Douglas Lima's strengths. Did he do anything more than that? No. Did he do anything impressive? Not really. What he did was took the Khabib game plan, took that playbook right out of the Nurmagomedov locker and erased all the striking from it. Just kept all the grappling and all the wet blanket technique, took away all the submission attempt, just literally lay and pray wet blanket method. And I tell you what, it's not exciting and it wasn't fun to watch, but for 25 minutes, he neutralized Douglas Lima. And as sad as it was, just neutralizing Douglas Lima was enough to get him that belt. I don't feel that he fucking earned that in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, Douglas Lima wasn't really doing a whole lot to get up. He was very accepting of the position as soon as they got to the ground every time. You could see for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt to get put to the ground and never touch your feet to the guy on top's hips to try and push out, to create space, to try and get the fuck out from the wet blanket you're laying under for 25 minutes. Every single time they hit the ground, his legs went over and he either took a triangle or he took the fucking body lock and snapped in behind him. Every single fucking time for 5 goddamn rounds. Like I said, he did what he needed to do to neutralize Lima, and he got himself a belt. Was it exciting? No. Did he fucking win any fans? I highly fucking doubt it. But it's going to make it interesting to see if the welterweight division of Bellator can do what the lightweight division in UFC could not, and that is find a way to get past this wet blanket bullshit. It's going to be real interesting. He is the first Ukrainian Bellator champion. He now has the quote unquote longest undefeated streak in professional MMA. I say quote unquote because much like his predecessor in that record, there's a lot of fucking bullshit on that record that got them to undefeated. So there is that. But that being said, that was Bellator Friday night. I do have to say I am still extremely disappointed to report that as of now, including last weekend's Bellator Friday and last weekend's UFC Saturday night, we still have yet to see any organization other than BKFC have a ring boy at an event. I am tired of these fucking bikini clad thoughts. Get some mad meat around that ring. We can carry numbers too. Hashtag equality. That being said, UFC
They're for Adam.
260.
They're for Adam meter. Remember that.
There's plenty to go around. I'm tired of poor Clay Teal being the only big man carrying the burden of holding signs as a man to be objectified and just having to carry all that weight on his big illustrious shoulders. So spread the load, man. There's enough of us big men to go around. We can carry those numbers and help him out. Hashtag equality. But UFC 263. I will say this. MMA Fighting's Jed Meshew was much more excited about the walrus slapping, as he put it, that opened the card last weekend than I was. Felipe Collier was it was very much two walruses flopping against each other for 15 fucking minutes. It was just insane. I will say this: Chase Hooper is another Aaron Pico-esque kind of fighter. People forget Chase Hooper signed up as a professional in the UFC at 18 and a half years old. For his first 3 victories in the UFC, he celebrated by going to a fucking M&M store because he wasn't old enough to buy himself a celebratory beer. He just turned 21. And people are already talking about, well, you know, he can't get it together. Though he's going to get cut. He'll never make it in the UFC. He just turned 21. This kid has been eating celebratory M&Ms for half of his professional career. Shut the fuck up. Settle down. He's already a fucking black belt in jiu-jitsu. We just have to teach the kid hands. He's a string bean. He's just going to need a little more work. Relax. His ground game is serious and it is legit. We just got to find the right coach to polish that kid's fucking fist work up. Because as soon as he figures out how to guard his fucking face and time that 9-foot-long jab of his, I'm telling you, that fucking kid's going to be a serious, serious fucking problem. Props to Peterson for putting fucking pressure out there on that kid. But the real story of the evening came into almost a throwback of last weekend, where we had a guy who's got a last-minute opponent, literal last-minute opponent guy making his debut. The guy who's still in the fight is supposed to be able to come out and style on this character not yet unlocked person on the fucking UFC website. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we got introduced to Terrence McKinney, now holder of the UFC's 4th fastest knockout in history and the single fastest knockout in lightweight history at 7 seconds, counting the time it took the referee to get there and stop the fight. It was quite fucking literally the opening 1-2. That's it. That was all of the fight, period. Terrence McKinney landed a beautiful left setup and followed it up with that fucking right behind it. And Fervola folded like a fucking lawn chair and was staring at the fucking rafters in literally 4 seconds and change. Had no fucking clue what was going on. Unbelievable fucking moment. The crowd, the entire stadium loses its fucking mind. Everyone watching at home starts to lose their fucking mind. Terrence McKinney starts to lose his fucking mind. He jumps up on the railing. He goes to celebrate. The official told him, hey, you can't jump up on the railing anymore. They're going to start finding you for that. So as he goes to climb down, he lands crooked and he blows out his fucking knee. He makes his debut on short notice, sets a record for the fastest fucking knockout in division history, fourth fastest in the entirety of the organization's history, and immediately fucks his knee up celebrating. Did nobody watch Johnny Walker? Not once, but twice. Fuck himself up in a post-fight celebration worse than he got fucked up in his match. I will say this. Terrence McKinney seems like a really fucking good person. Seems like a really fucking cool dude, like a really good young kid. Just was caught up in the moment and was not thinking. Hopefully everything is okay and it's nothing serious and we get to see him come back. Because, man, that would be a hell of a career if that fucking went bad. That kid's 24. He's another one of these young kids. And to have it potentially start and finish so fucking quick over something so stupid. Your early prelim premier yawn, you didn't miss anything. The prelims though, we told you guys last week, the prelims were fucking stacked. Evlial versus Dawodu was a back and forth fucking war. Mobsar definitely has a fucking striking edge. Those Russian fucking hands are quick, man. Those Russian hands are quick. He had Hakeem on the fucking ropes the whole of the fucking fight. It was close, but he led the fucking dance the whole way through. I do not understand how the judges got to a split decision in Calderwood versus Murphy. JoJo was doing a lot of and a lot of swinging at air, and Lauren Murphy was throwing a lot of 1-2 and stepping out. But the 1-2s were landing. Lauren Murphy outstruck the shit out of Joanne Calderwood. JoJo never really had her in trouble at any point in the fight, but somehow it came down split decision because, again, judges. Anderson Stewart, surprisingly way less exciting than I thought it was going to be. The one that was as exciting as I thought it was going to be, that we told you last week, very well could have been fight of the fucking night on a card with 2 titles up for grabs, lived up to the goddamn hype. Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell was a fucking spectacular war of attrition. Those 2 dudes were bombing the fucking shit out of each other, and neither one was willing to fucking quit. Those 2 dudes went out there and showed you what it means to leave everything you got in the fucking octagon for 3 hard fucking rounds on both sides of the fucking mat. And that was a glorious fucking match. If anything, you want to go back and watch last weekend, I encourage you to start with that fight. That was fucking spectacular. That being said, I am grossed the fuck out a little bit and beyond impressed at the same time with Jamal Hill. Paul Craig wrapped that motherfucker up just like we thought he was gonna. But thanks to what is now being referred to as the Arizona Mazzagatti, poor Jamal Hill had himself one hell of a worse night than he actually needed to. Paul Craig wrapped him the fuck up and had Jamal Hill's arm in serious trouble. The referee did not see him trying to get the fuck out of there and tapping. And Paul Craig quite literally yanked his elbow out of socket forward and turned the entirety of his forearm and wrist into a fucking Twizzler. It was bad enough that literally in the post-fight announcement, as they were raising hands, he could not let go of his arm to let it hang of its own weight without seriously being impinged and having to fucking flinch and grab that bitch back. Surprisingly enough, we found out after the fact, Jamal Hill was obviously taken directly to the hospital, but Dana White had already gotten news by the time he came out to give his post-fight press conference that nothing was broken. Nothing was torn. Nothing was ripped. It quite literally had popped 180 degrees completely out of socket. And they were able to pop it 180 degrees right back into fucking place. No damage. He has full immediate range of motion from his arm, wrist, and fingers all the way down, and no fucking tears. If you watch that match, that's a fucking miracle. That dude's arm became a piece of fucking overcooked spaghetti in the octagon. For that fucking moment of twist torque and oh my God, to not have torn, ripped, or broken anything, and for it to have been just literally set back into place and full range of motion immediately come back. You better buy those UFC doctors a fucking beer, son. That looked horrible. That looked fucking horrible.
That was gnarly. However, I think the greatest part of all of that to come out of that situation was earlier this week, Jamal Hill ate his word, said, you know what? I shouldn't have listened to people that said they heard it from somebody else. And he said that was some bullshit. And you know what? I mean, they obviously squashed it after the fight, because if you see in the post celebrations and all that shit, they were out drinking together afterwards, like they should be.
Literally, yeah, like you should have been, exactly.
So they had whatever conversation they did, and my hat's off to him for one, sticking it out like a fucking champ in there and not squealing, and then two, first and foremost of all of the things is actually saying, yeah, you know what? I shouldn't have listened to somebody and tried to use fucking third-party information as fact when I don't know. That's the greatest thing he could have done.
Smartest thing for sure.
And not to mention, like I said, Paul Craig was whipping his ass. We called it. Fucking Bear Jew all day.
Yeah, there was not a moment where Paul Craig was not in control of that fucking fight. Technically, there was only 2 minutes of the whole fight, but the Bear Jew ran the show the whole goddamn time. Kind of like we thought it was going to happen. So, and speaking of kind of exactly like we fucking thought it was going to happen, the Damian Maia that fought Tyron Woodley showed up Saturday night and just shot desperation takedown after desperation takedown and ate sloppy fucking shots on the way in after sloppy shot on the way in, and ended up giving Bilal Muhammad a fucking unanimous decision that was really hard to argue with. It was a fucking dumpster fire to watch, but you couldn't argue with the unanimous decision for Muhammad. The good news is that after the result of this fight and then after the result that comes after this, we might get a replay of the fight that happened before this coming up again. So there is that. We knew Maia versus Muhammad was probably going to go this way. It's exactly what it was. It was fucking bad. It was bad to watch. And Dana confirmed that he's not going to offer him another UFC contract extension. That was his last fight with the UFC. So if we see Damian Maia fight anywhere anytime soon, it will be in another organization, just like Tyron Woodley. this way they don't have to officially, quote unquote, let them go. They just let their contract expire and then don't offer a renewal, so they don't have to give them any kind of a send off or make any kind of a big deal for the decade and a half that Damian Maia spent helping the UFC build the fucking organization into what it is. You know, now they just get to move right along and pretend that he wasn't there anymore. I believe he's already out of the rankings if I saw earlier.
Smartest
So
thing for
fuck
him.
the UFC for doing that.
The smartest thing for him now would be to move over to fucking Submission Underground.
Go to Submission Underground. Chael has already put out a post and said that he would open the fucking doors and have a check ready for you. He puts some fucking things on every month, every other month. 5K, 10K for doing an 20 minutes worth of fucking work once a month for Uncle Chael ain't a bad way to make a fucking living, if you ask me.
Nope. And if he starts pulling names like Damian Maia out there, they're going to get more views, and the more views they get, the higher those checks are going to get. Maybe this is Maia's shot to build another organization and make some more money that way.
Right. And not to get too side derailed into Submission Underground, but we also did just get the official announcement this week. Gordon Ryan has officially indefinitely removed himself from all competitive jiu-jitsu, MMA, everything. He reneged his contract with ONE FC. He has got a stomach condition that he has been fighting for years, steroid-induced, that is preventing him from training at the level that he needs to train. It's something to do with the lining of his stomach, probably from steroids, that it doesn't help him hold food down or some shit like that. So he's officially out of competition. And he was the one person literally in the world that was thought to have a chance of really standing any significant risk of taking away the Submission Underground Ultimate Belt from Mason Fowler, since he's already beaten Craig Jones twice, Vinny Magalhaes. He's beaten all of the top in the jiu-jitsu world, really, at this point. He beat fucking Zangief, he beat Jimenez, he beat all of the top guys in the jiu-jitsu world, with the exception of Galvo, the ADCC champion, who will not compete in Submission Underground because he's quote unquote always training for ADCC, and Gordon Ryan, his rival, the other one white whale of a jiu-jitsu name out in the competitive world. And with Galvo now officially announcing that he's going to come back and defend his ADCC Ultimate Championship, ironically, shortly after the guy that infamously bitch slapped him twice announces his retirement, essentially, Damian Maia could become the biggest name in jiu-jitsu if he starts to move in on Submission Underground. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm very curious. I kind of hope he does make the move over, at least for a time or two. Just a tip, see if you like it. But that'll bring us into the I don't even really know if you could call this the People's Co-Main Event, because it really wasn't. It was really more of the circus sideshow act on the card. Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz in a 5-round non-main event, non-title fight for the first time in UFC history. And even Dana has said that he's not mad that it was 5 rounds, but he's definitely not going to continue with this non-title fight, non-main event 5-round format going forward, because it looked fucking weird and it didn't fit. It made the whole fucking card's timing off a little bit. To be fair, Leon Edwards came out and tried to outbox Nate Diaz for 5 rounds. We all know Nate Diaz has a lot of scar tissue, and just like we predicted, if you can hit some of that scar tissue, you'll open him up and he'll fucking bleed. The problem is Nate Diaz don't give a fuck about bleeding. Not a single solitary fuck. He'll fight you for 15 rounds, dripping blood from every fucking inch of his face, and never slow down and laugh at you when you get weirded out because he's bleeding on you. There were a couple times where he grabbed Leon and you could see him pushing his bloody eyebrow onto Leon's head on purpose. He would lean the cut onto Leon's head and you see him lean into it. He pushed his fucking cut on Leon's head to gross him out like a fucking, middle schooler on the fucking playground. It got interesting. And then the thing that everyone is talking about, despite Leon easily pointing the fucking shit out of that fight in the last minute and a half, when Leon started to get sloppy because he was cruising on fucking autopilot, Nate caught him. Nate caught him real fucking clean a couple times and stanky legged him to the point where Leon had to back up to the fence with deer in the headlight eyeballs and was running for dear fucking life for a good minute there. Nate caught him, and Nate had him very, very hurt at the end of that fight. This is one of those things that a lot of us consistently fucking complain about, because had Nate hit him a little more instead of playing earlier on in the fight, if Nate could have hit him with that shot and hurt him in the third, Nate could have put him the fuck away. Nate could have finished that fight and been the fucking hero of the evening, the guy that shut Leon Edwards the fuck up for the rest of us. And instead, he literally played and leaned on his fucking hips and turned back slaps and pointed and fucking ha and Nate Diaz'd his way through the fucking fight. And surprise to no one, unanimous decision, Leon Edwards. And exactly as we anticipated, as soon as he got a microphone in front of him, he started screaming about how he's the next in line for the title shot. He should be the one fighting Kamaru Usman. And fucking hell. So like I said earlier, the only good thing I think that might have come out of that is that based on both bullshit wins, it looks realistically like we might be getting Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards run back after the eye poke that Leon seems to have forgotten about and now denies. So we'll see how that plays out. Either way, fuck both of those guys. But that'll bring us to the upset of the fucking century. Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Man, I gotta say, we all knew Figueiredo cut a lot of weight. We all knew Figueiredo cut a lot of weight to make it down to flyweight. For whatever reason, though, he was just so fucking slow Saturday night. He was a half step behind the entire time. He seemed a little gun shy, was hesitant to pull the trigger, and Moreno was on fucking point. Had his P's and Q's lined the fuck up, and when he got the opening, he sank that fucking choke in on Davison so goddamn quick and so fucking smooth. He literally snapped that motherfucker in place, and it went one shot right through, and it was done. When he landed it, it was fucking over. Beautifully fucking done. And then to watch his reaction, to watch it all sink in for him in the moment Saturday night, and to see it just fucking overwhelm him was cool shit. I am a huge fucking Figueiredo fan. He handled that loss like a fucking champion. You could not ask for a better example of a fucking sportsman than Davison Figueiredo, who lost his belt and then hoisted the guy that choked him the fuck out up on his shoulder and told people to cheer for this man in very clear English. You can't ask for a better fucking sportsman representation than that. Moreno's a good fucking dude, man. It was really cool to see him win it. The good thing, I think, if there is a good thing about Figueiredo losing the belt, is that he said after the fact that it's been really fucking hard on him to cut to flyweight. And he thinks that this might have been the signal that he was looking for, that it's time to stop cutting to flyweight after the rematch, because now technically they're still 1-1, because without the point reduction, the original draw was Figgy Smalls taking his belt home, no questions asked. Technically they're kind of 1-1 at this point. We got to run that trilogy back, and that's a fight, both of them in shape. We get a repeat of the first match. Holy shit. We find out in the second match that this weight cut really is too hard for Figgy Smalls and that this is Moreno's time now. And then we watch Figgy go up to 35 and we see what he starts doing over in the bantamweight territory, because we know that he walks around at like 150 something fucking pounds, almost 160 pounds. He cuts that hard to get to 25. He can cut 10 less and make it to 35 and be every fucking bit as dangerous there as he is at 25, in my opinion. But we'll see how that plays out going forward, because everyone, including Dana, thinks that the trilogy fight there is probably the fight to make. And I agree. Based on the first two, they were both spectacular fucking fights. I'm absolutely down for a fucking third one on that one.
I know everybody's calling that an upset. I don't think that's an upset. Those two guys are fucking way more evenly matched than everybody is giving fucking Moreno credit
they're
for.
real fucking close. I agree completely.
Like, everybody goes, oh, it's an upset. No, it's really not. Did you watch their first fight? I get it. Davidson was sick the first fight, but still, even being sick, Davidson's got a lot of power, and he's knocked out damn near everybody in that division. I think the reason why Moreno's not getting the fucking recognition he deserves is because he was cut 2 years ago from the UFC. Or 2.5 years ago, or whatever it was. And then fucking comes back and then comes and goes at the title. So nobody's giving him a fucking half a chance. And I get it, the Royval situation beforehand, little shoddy at best, but he's obviously the right fucking guy. And I'm not saying Royval isn't. Royval just got the fucking short straw that night, unfortunately, and
that's
shit luck.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the future, really. I think regardless of how the Figgy Smalls trio plays out here, I think he's done it at flyweight. I think regardless of if he beats Moreno and takes that belt back and has to vacate it, or if he loses and then doesn't get it back, I think Figgy Smalls is heading for bantamweight. And I think the future that we're going to see going back and forth is going to be healthy Royval and then healthy Moreno, because that fight was real interesting before Royval clearly got hurt.
And can we talk about Dana White in this fight too? Obviously, Dana White has a problem with Brandon Moreno.
Yes,
obviously. Because how many times do you see Dana not put a belt around someone's waist when they win?
Right. Very few times. Very
It's only times. When he doesn't really want them as champ. So he set it on Moreno's shoulder.
He literally barely had it on his shoulder and was walking away already.
Yeah, it was fucking ridiculous.
That was real dickish. Like, he literally kind of just like threw it on his shoulder and then started taking off. Like, motherfucker, that's your new champion. That's the first Mexican-born UFC champion in fucking history. You literally just set a fucking record that can never be taken away.
Yeah, and you treated him like shit. Like, look, I don't think everybody else picked up on that, but that is something I noticed, and I was like, you know what? That's some shoddy bullshit. And now, mind it be known, I was well in the bag at this point, because this is the last fight I remember. I had to go back and watch the replay of the main event. So for me to pick that out while I was 3 sheets to the wind, that tells you something. And what's funny is I didn't see anybody talking about that after the fight. Nobody's brought that up. It's probably out there somewhere else, but from what I follow, I haven't seen a goddamn thing about it. And to be quite honest, I think it's absolute horseshit, because Daddy Dana doesn't do that to everybody. He puts their belt around the waist to everybody fucking else. Not Moreno. I was
thinking the last person that he did that to was Amanda, and he only did it to Amanda because she already had her other belt on her other shoulder. When they went to give her the belt again, she already had her other belt out there and on her other shoulder. So he just set that other belt on the other shoulder so she could double champ it up. Because it would have looked weird if he was trying to put the one on her while she's holding the other one here with her arm out.
Yeah.
That I understand.
But when's the last time you've seen him do that to any champ that's either defended or is new?
I just thought about it. Ironically enough, the last time he did this to someone who, ironically enough, also made history in getting the belt was when Rose got her belt back. He set it on her fucking shoulder and walked away instead of putting it around her waist like he did the first time.
Yep. A straight fucking disrespectful asshole. And look,
when she became the first woman to ever regain a fucking title. The first woman in UFC fucking history to ever recapture a title.
Yeah.
And
when there's big historic moments like that and you treat them like that, that's some bullshit.
Fuck, Dana.
Wait a minute. Let me just jump ahead. What happened when Adesanya held his title? Where did he put the belt?
Oh, he wrapped that motherfucker around Izzy's waist. He made a point to slap that motherfucker right around Izzy's waist when he beat Vittori, like we all fucking knew he was gonna.
I'm just saying, there's some shoddy bullshit going on here. Anybody want to call that fucking thing?
Yeah, you can definitely tell who Dana likes for goddamn sure.
Just saying, and I think it pisses him off more because Brandon Moreno, like I said last week, he reminds me of a John Dodson, only a better fighter.
Right, like a
happy-go-lucky, fucking nice guy. And I don't think Dana wants that. He wants a fucking killer in there, man. Or somebody who
he
talks
wants somebody
a lot
who's
of
gonna
shit.
talk shit and get people riled up, push people at the fucking press conference like Figgy did the other day.
This is where we get into that weird flyweight fucking problem again, because who was their last champ that didn't want to do it at flyweight? Who wasn't going to talk shit? Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, look what they fucking did to him.
Yep. And the second he fucking lost that title, bam, you're gone. So, just saying, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen to Moreno. Because even if Moreno gets a decent run here, and I don't know, because there's still some decent fighters in the flyweight division, especially if
there's still some
Figueiredo
fucking
rematch.
talent. Damn sure.
Yeah, and let's say he gets a decent run. The second he loses that belt after a decent run, I bet you, your sweet ass, they'll fucking cut him because he doesn't talk shit. He literally is just he's a nice guy all the fucking time.
Super happy motherfucker. He's one of those dudes. If you see any of his social media, any of his interviews with anyone, that dude is just permanently fucking constantly happy. He loves fighting, and he gets to fight and commentate fights for the UFC in Spanish for a fucking living. He's quite literally living his fucking dream, and he's super fucking happy about it all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
Dana clearly doesn't want a happy dude holding the fucking belt.
He wants somebody who talks shit and sells fights. Brandon Moreno's not going to talk shit about somebody. He'll be, I respect them. I respect what they can do, but I will beat them, and that's about as far as you're going to get out of the I'm going to talk shit out of Brandon Moreno. Otherwise, it's going to be happy-go-lucky. Check out this new fucking Funko Pop that I added to my collection type shit, you know? I mean, that's what him and Izzy talked about for fucking, was it 2 or 3 minutes during their fucking lead-ups to the fights? Good times. And either I'm frozen or you're frozen.
Good times indeed. But that'll bring us real quickly into, if my shit will quit freezing.
And I thought it was me that was freezing for a second because you were just sitting there, RJ.
Last night it was me. Tonight it's Meter.
Well, since Meter's away, I guess we can move on in that case to the main event. And then once Meter gets his shit straightened out, talk to Israel, let him talk his Israel Adesanya Marvin Vettori stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and say this. This was not the fight I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more of Marvin Vettori just getting beat. However, Israel Adesanya did clown the shit out of him. Repeatedly on more than one occasion. The downside to that is he never looked like he was actually trying to finish Vettori or put him away. He looked like he was just toying with him, which to me was a waste of my fucking time. And I'm glad I forgot it the first time around. Because I'm really not glad I missed it the first time around, because I wasted my fucking time to come back and rewatch that shit. I think Israel Adesanya could have at least one or more times put Vettori away. Not a happy camper that he did not try harder to put him away. Instead, he was content to clown him for the most part of the fight. And don't get me wrong, he was clearly winning it, and Vettori was doing Vettori things of, let me try to get a takedown, let me try to get a takedown, let me try to get a takedown. Because, that's what the Italian fucking meat does meathead things. But the way that fight played out, I'm glad I forgot it, but I'm pissed that I forgot it too, because that means I had to go back and rewatch it. And to be honest, that was the most fucking bullshit fight I've seen out of Israel Adesanya in a long time, and I'm not a fan. I was actually highly disappointed in the way that played out. However, Israel Adesanya did what he needed to do to win, but it wasn't what I was expecting. With all the shit talking he did up to the fight of how he was going to put Vettori out and make sure he understood that, yes, I did beat you. He didn't live up to expectations. So it is what it is. Good on Izzy for keeping the belt. 'Cause to be quite honest, I didn't want to see a meathead up there. We've already had a meathead champ before in the heavyweight division, and we don't need that shit playing out anymore to be having fucking WWE in this bitch, because that's what it would have turned into in this division. So good on Izzy. It was funny watching you clown him. I will give you credit there, but I really wish you would have put him away. I really wish you would have slept that motherfucker.
I agree. To such an extent that Vittori actually told him in the ring he thought he won this one too, until they read the decision.
Yep. And if that doesn't say something about the way you fought him, there's a problem there. And the worst part of this is Israel's never going to get to prove that again. Never. Because Vittori's going to have to win like 6 straight in order to get another shot at the title. Because that's how Daddy Dana would play that out.
Yeah, easily. Well, and the funny thing is that realistically, the Izzy that we saw, there's no reason to think that Izzy isn't going to beat the shit out of Whitaker again, too. Like, it might not have been a lot, but the Izzy that we saw Saturday night was still better than the Izzy that we saw knock Robert Whitaker the fuck out and take that belt. Whitaker's going to get another shot. Dana already said Whitaker's getting another shot. I don't see how it's going to go different, much like this one.
It just feels like, maybe it's just me, but it feels like he just didn't try that fight. Like, it looked like he wasn't trying. He was trying more to be a showman than a fucking fighter. And don't get me wrong, that shit is funny, but at the same time, it's fucking frustrating. Don't get me wrong. I remember back in the day watching Mike Tyson fight and getting pissed off because he knocked somebody out in the first round. But now as I look back on those things, I'm going, that was awesome to see that, because he wasn't there to fuck around. He was there to fuck somebody up. I wish more of our champs would have that mentality. Don't fuck around. Go in there, fuck them up, call it a day. And don't get me wrong, MMA is a whole different thing than boxing. I'm not saying it's the same. There's a lot more fucking things you have to worry about. But at the same time, when you know when you're just steps and steps above everybody else, you should have no problem walking in there, pulling an old school fighter, and just beating the brakes off of somebody. But,
it's ironic. That's kind of what it reminded me of, but not the old school Spider. It reminded me kind of that Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman's fighter. That cockier than the ability, that more worried about looking good than being good. And we saw where that got Silva.
Yep. And you know what? He keeps playing those stupid games. He's going to end up getting caught. And it's going to be, I'll say it, he might get caught by Whitaker doing some bullshit like that, because Whitaker does have that nice leap-in fucking swing, man.
Bobby Knuckles jumps, yeah. He's got that leaping fucking punch, man. He does.
And it's a good, solid one. That's how he knocks a lot of folks out. So, just saying, you keep playing stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes eventually. You might not win them on this quarter, but eventually you might go through a roll or two of quarters and somebody's going to hit that fucking button.
When that turkey timer pops, that's going to be bad. I agree.
Well, yeah, because I think that'll put him on that same route as we seen Spider go down, where it just kind of fucking slowly fucking dwindled down the career, and I don't want to see that out of him. Go in there, stop being the cocky bastard that you are right now. Go in there and be the Israel Adesanya that got you to being able to be a cocky bastard.
Right.
Because you were much, in my opinion, don't get me wrong, his game has improved, but he was a much better fighter 4 or 5 fights ago.
I agree. When he was a little hungrier, I think.
Yeah.
Before, and I hate to say this because I definitely don't want to in any way fucking discourage them from doing this, but it almost feels like after he tried for champ, because it really didn't feel like he wanted to go for the 205 belt. It felt like the UFC was kind of pushing him to go for that champ shit, which is part of why he said he wasn't going to bulk up to do it. He was going to walk in there at his natural walking weight. You know, he took the training serious, but he didn't take the bulk serious. If you're going up a 20-pound weight class, you can't go at the weight you walk around normally. You need to bulk up to cut proper down the way you're cutting down from your walking weight to 185. It just felt like he wasn't serious about it. The UFC kind of pushed him into doing it, and he lost a little bit of the hunger in that process.
And to be quite honest, maybe that loss is still playing in his head because, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't your division, you didn't lose a belt or anything, but it's still an L.
Right. Well, and he's the guy known for being flashy and winning, for being able to go out there and style on a motherfucker and get the W. And he went out there and couldn't do either of those things against Blachowicz. That might have really fucked his head up. That might have been part of why he was trying to be so showy against the Italian, is that he's used to being that showy, and people, at least in his eyes, were diminishing that thought since he got beat by Blachowicz. So he was trying to go extra. Didn't fucking work, but
I didn't hold it against him for that one because I knew going in that if my opinion was straight out, and I said it from the get-go, the second they made that fight, I said Israel doesn't stand a chance. I was like, he's got a puncher's chance just like everybody else, but to be quite honest, there's levels to the game, especially when you move to a different weight class, and Blachowicz is on a whole different level in that weight class.
Well, and that's his specialty, is 185ers trying to move up.
Yep.
Literally, that's what Blachowicz got household recognition for, was being the dude that stomped all the 85ers trying to come up to light heavyweight. But who really thought that Izzy was going to be the exception because he's better at 185 than the other guys who tried to move up? He did it the same way they did. He got the same fucking result that they did.
Yep. But, you know, that all comes back to, I just hope Izzy goes back to being the guy that wants to finish people, not wants to be showy. So if you want to be showy, you immediately lose my fucking respect. Like, if his next fight's like this, I'm going to pick every fighter against him from here on out if his next fight's like this.
Yeah,
and I want to pick Izzy because I like Izzy. Sure. But if you do that same bullshit you just did with Vettori, count me out, dude. I'm over it. I'm not for a flashy fucking fighter who doesn't finish fights.
Yeah. We already have a Michelle Pereira in the UFC.
Yeah, we don't need another one. And don't get me wrong, I'll watch flashy because it's fun, but I'm not going to root for you because, to be honest, I give fucks about flashy. But you know, I'm hoping this is a fluke situation, but I don't think so because it seems like even in his last title defense, he was a little flashier than normal.
Right.
So we'll see where it goes, and I get it. It's hard to fucking train and take shit seriously when you're sleeping in silk sheets, and I get that. It is what it is.
Yeah, we'll definitely see where it goes from here. We did, luckily enough, though, get a traditional old school fight of the night and 2 performance of the night bonuses. Performances of the night, Paul Craig for that crazy fucking arm snatch on Jamal Hill, and Brandon Moreno for that fucking crazy neck crank that won him, or crazy fucking rear naked choke that won him the belt. Fight of the night. What I fucking tell you guys. Fight of the night. Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell on a night with 2 fucking title fights in the UFC's first non-title, non-main event 5-round fight. Brad Riddell versus fucking Drew Dober in 3 rounds still won fight of the fucking night. I'm telling you, it was a fucking war. If you want to see a great example of 3 rounds going at it, that was a fucking great example. Medical suspensions for this card. Ironically, kind of back to good. Pretty much everybody who got any type of cut got a 45-day suspension for the lacerations to heal. People who didn't get cut and just were in, hard scraps got 30 days. Brandon Moreno hurt his foot in their fight, so they gave him cleared by the doctor on the foot or 180 days. What was the other one? Jamal Hill, obviously with that fucking arm, he's got to get cleared by a doctor or 180 days. And then Terrence McKinney for his fucking knee from jumping back down. 180 days are cleared by a doctor. Other than that, everybody was either 30, 45 days or like Peterson versus Hooper. There wasn't any real damage on either of those guys. They both got 7-day suspensions just for being in fights. Nothing to worry about, nothing extra. Now, that'll bring us into the news and recent events segment here before we get into some UFC talk for this weekend's ultra hot dumpster fire on wheels. The first one that I want to mention here real quick, UFC relative newcomer Rogerio Bontorin has officially been popped by USADA for diuretic use. The last time we saw Rogerio Bontorin step into the octagon, it was on a short notice fight where he missed weights. And now it turns out he was using diuretics to try and cut that weight and still couldn't make weight and got caught using the diuretics. So now he has the loss and a suspension to look forward to from that fuck up. We got an announcement. It's a 3-part announcement, or a 3-phase announcement, I guess you should say. The first part of it, Tim Means versus Danny Roberts was originally scheduled for this Saturday's upcoming card that we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. Danny Roberts' cornerman has tested positive for the Backstreet Boys. Apparently they did not all get their receipts yet. I am fully refunded, so I don't have to worry about that kind of bullshit. But because it is a cornerman and they have got him under protocol immediately, they literally just picked that fight up off of this card and moved it to next Saturday's card. If his cornerman is cleared, he can come. If not, they will proceed without him. But the fight goes on just a week later than we'd originally anticipated. The second part of that, Max Grishin has officially been removed from this next weekend's card against Tanner Boser. So OSP is stepping in on a week's notice and moving up to heavyweight to take on Tanner Boser next Saturday. And then for no good fucking reason whatsoever that I can find, they have decided to add an additional fight to next Saturday's card last minute, just added yesterday. Andre Touchy-Feely versus Daniel Pineda has been added. All 3 fights will be taking place next Saturday. We got an interesting announcement for UFC 265 taking place August 7th. We will now add to that card one Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. That's going to be an interesting matchup to see how that plays out. September 18th's card has a addition to it in the form of Devin Clark stepping back in to take on Ian Kutalaba. Be interesting to see how that loudmouth fuckstick gets back into the octagon. UFC 266 going down September 25th has just had what is tentatively right now being called most likely the headliner to the event, unless something changes beforehand. Curtis Blades versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike, the fight we all kind of thought they were going to make next. They went ahead and made it fairly quickly. So we will see that one in September. Also on the 266 card added yesterday, one Marlon Moraes taking on Matt Serra's favorite Georgian, Marab. Oh, that's going to be an interesting match. Marlon Moraes has traditionally, as we have seen, had a lot of problems with wrestlers more than anything else. And Marab is a wrestler in fucking Spain. So this might be the match where he gets to break his own fucking takedown record. I could absolutely see him throwing a fucking pale little Marlon Moraes around that fucking octagon like a training dummy for 15 or 25 fucking minutes, depending on how they play that one. The UFC's October 2nd card had its headliner announced yesterday. One Thiago Mojeta Santos stepping in against Johnny Walker. That is a fight I did not think about until now. Has not happened yet. I don't understand how those two dudes avoided each other on their way up, because they came in relatively close to each other. Obviously, Johnny Walker's a little newer, but I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I think that's a very interesting stylistic matchup between those two. Last minute addition, literally this afternoon, we got a couple. The first one for UFC 265 in a couple of weeks, August 7th, late added Casey Kenny versus Song Yadong. I would absolutely love to see Song Yadong get back into the win column, and fuck Casey Kenny, so that's a great name to do it with, I would say. The September 4th card has the potential co-main event as of right now, announced as Khalil Roundtree stepping back in against Modestas Bukauskas. That's going to be a very interesting fight to see play out as well. Both of those dudes could really use a big fucking win. The Bellator July 16th card has officially had a pair of announcements added just this afternoon. The first one will be Matt Mitrione stepping back in to take on Tyrell Fortune. Talk about a fucking layup fight. But the one that actually has me interested for that evening's events, Marcelo Golm stepping back in there to take on our show's very own favorite, LDV Big Swarm himself, Linton Vassell, officially getting back in the goddamn cage to put gloves to face July 16th. And I'm very fucking happy to see that as well. Couple more announcements before we get into some UFC shit here. This weekend will be Anderson Silva will be boxing Julio Cesar Chavez III this weekend, if that's a thing you're interested in. I'm sorry. We also got the announcement that Oscar De La Hoya is officially coming out of retirement. It wasn't just drunken talk on the Triller show last time. It is official as of right now. On September 11th, of all fucking days, Oscar De La Hoya comes out of retirement to fight Vitor Belfort in a fucking boxing match. So that's going to be a thing.
Vitor Belfort, the washed up MMA fighter, versus a has
Oscar
been
De La Weirdo.
I'd be much more excited with him and Mike Tyson.
I would too. I kind of thought that the way that he was talking, at least drunk as shit on the Triller stream, he was talking like they were trying to set the fight up for him and Tyson. I would be interested to see him and Tyson fight. I don't think it would be, anything super exciting, but I think that would be potentially more fun than this is going to be.
I mean, a warm-up fight maybe for it?
That could be that. This could be like the tune-up fight that they're angling for the Tyson fight with. But man, oy vey. Oh man. But last little piece of news here is a two-parter. Part good news, part bad news. The good news is that proceeding forward, not to be deterred or derailed, tomorrow evening, Full Metal Dojo presents Fight Circus 3 fisting for dollars will proceed as fucking scheduled. The bad news is that we have lost one of the potential greatest things on the card after just learning a juicy tidbit about it right before it was yanked out of our fucking mitts. The original first ever literal phone booth Muay Thai match where they were going to take two gentlemen and put them in an actual phone booth and close the fucking door and make them fight. At the last minute was revealed was not going to be a phone booth Muay Thai match. No. It was going to be so much fucking better than that. It was going to be a phone booth left way match, meaning elbows and headbutts are fully fucking legal. So it would be a 100% sanctioned, literal, full combat phone booth battle. And then we found out just this morning that the Blue Corner has had to withdraw, and we have lost the phone booth left way match from tomorrow night's Fight Circus 3 Fisting for Dollars event. The good news is we do still have a 2-on-1 MMA match. We do still have Siamese kickboxing, two men tied to two men, fighting two men at the same fucking time. It's going down. There are midget wrestlers in a fucking circus. You cannot get more entertainment for free. The only thing that you do have to remember, and they will tell you this themselves, do not watch Fight Circus from your work computer. Do not watch Fight Circus on a computer without antivirus and pop-up blockers, because you don't want what they got, but you do want to watch. That being said, that will bring us to this weekend's upcoming UFC card, if you can call it that. UFC Vegas 29 is, by my estimation, the dog shittiest dumpster fire of a card we have seen in 2021. We have last minute debut fighters taking on other debut fighters. We have player not yet unlocked characters on the loading screen. We have last minute fight losses. We have last minute fight additions, and none of them could make me give a shit less. There are quite literally 3 out of 15 fights on this card I am even willing to force myself to talk about for you folks. Like I said, we almost literally didn't have a show tonight because this card is fucking garbage, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's not what I do. I'm not going to lie to you fucking people. That's not how this channel operates. This card sucks out loud. If you are a hardcore fight fan like I am, you're going to watch it anyway. But I'm telling you right now, if you're just a casual observer, you don't need to even concern yourself until damn near the end of the whole fucking thing. Don't worry about setting a timer. Don't worry about rushing to miss anything. You've got time. You'll be all right. For those of us who are the more hardcore, or those of you casuals who are interested to know where those of us rabid fans like myself actually start paying attention into a fucking laughable nightmare of a card like this, the main card opener is when I'm going to start luring around. I'm not going to start paying attention because it's Matt Brown at 43 versus Diego Lima in his fucking prime. Matt Brown's going to get the beat out of him, hopefully retired, and then we can move on about our fucking business and then get into the confusion of the second Bruno Silva being signed to the UFC that no one really needs to watch because he's a welterweight making his debut against Wellington fucking Tournament.
Who also hasn't fought since 2018. Has not had a professional performance since 2018. I just had to double that down.
Was it 2018?
Yeah,
Is what it was?
2018, man.
I guess it was 2018. And that, if that wasn't boring enough for you, that will bring you into Sungwoo Choi versus Juicy J himself, Julian Erosa. Yeah, I know most people aren't going to recognize that, and that's the point. Moving on. The people's co-main event, as it were, being one of the three fights that I am comfortable talking about, and in that only for half of the goddamn fight. Marlon Chito Vera versus Davey, I ate your squirrel, do something about it, Grant. This fight doesn't have a whole lot of excitement into it, other than the fact that I'm a huge Marlon Vera fan. Davey Grant is a relative nobody who looks like he's the guy who watches plastic bags out the window and goes, beautiful. And this fight takes place before the co-main event. That's what I got for that fight. That's why I need to talk about that fight. That being said, that'll bring us to the co-main event that I'm only talking about because it's the co-main event. Alexei, the dad body constrictor Olenek, versus Sergey, the geriatric polar bear Spivak. This is two mediocre talent European big boys who are going to make a lot of noise and shake the cage around for up to potentially 15 minutes. If the dad body constrictor can get a lock on him, Spivak's going to be in trouble. If Spivak can land one square on the dad body constrictor's chin, he's probably going to go to sleep. It's not going to be terribly exciting. I'm telling you right now. That's your co-main event.
Yeah, shit's getting weird on this card. I think they're feeding Marlon Vera a win so he can avenge his last loss to keep him on the roster.
It really feels like that, doesn't it?
And I think they're trying to send Alexei Olenek out the door because fucking Polar Bears finally got a win under his belt after a while. So, and I think they're just looking for a good reason to get fucking Olenek out of there. Or maybe this is just Olenek's last fight on the contract, and they're like, here, let's see if we can get Spivak into the fucking.
I'm wondering how many
into the top 15. Yeah, but
that's kind of what I was wondering as well. Is how many's he got left?
Yeah, if it goes to the ground, Spivak's fucked. If it stays on the feet, Spivak wins. That's about all there is to that fight.
Pretty much. Pretty fucking much. RJ, anything to add?
All right, so I'm going to double down on the fact that they're just trying to give Marlon Vera something to stay relevant. Then I'm going to go down a little bit to fuck Matt Brown and everything that is Immortal, because Ronin is way better than Immortal, bitches. Fucking make Ohio better than Immortal MMA. In Lewis Center, Ohio. If you're in Ohio, go fuck up Immortal MMA in Lewis Center. I'll fucking cash app you. Honestly, after the last several performances from Olenek, I think he's pretty much done with his with the career in fighting, and he can go do something wherever the fuck in Europe. Because his last several performances, he has just spiraled fucking downhill. And that's horrible to say because that man is a fucking legend and a king. But goddamn, they fucking fall hard nowadays.
I'm gonna say, you're only a king while you're still on the throne. Once you're fallen, that's a hard roll down.
Man, lately when the greats fall, dude, they fucking fall and they just do not stop. That's a damn shame to see. But that's about it. Fuck Matt Brown.
Oh, I agree. And that will bring us to the only actual fight on this card legitimately worth talking about if my
Oh god, he froze again.
And we're out of time.
It looks like that's the show, folks.
So I think he meant to go on to the main event here of the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung versus Dan 50K Ige. This is literally the only fight that if you are a fucking casual fan, you should turn in for. This would be the only one. I mean, let's see. You know, the greatest thing about this is, I'll say this, being the only fight you should turn in for, most of you will not be asleep by this time because the start of the actual fucking main card starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, which means this show should be done by 10 o'clock at the latest. So if you're a casual, you can stay up till 9:30 to watch this fight, and you'll be fine. This is a good, solid one to watch if you're a casual fan. Everybody pretty much, the Korean Zombie is pretty much a household name at this point. And Danny Gay is pretty close to being a fucking household name as well. So I won't say he is a household name at this point, but he's getting there. I mean, he's had some good runs, and he's also had some rough losses though too. I mean, some ones that were close, but you're looking at a very fireworks fucking fight here as far as the rest of the card is concerned. Hands down, this one wins fight of the night, in my opinion, for all of the fights that are on this fucking card, unless one of these no-name unlocked characters has some fucking weird, just all of a sudden, blow out the water thing here. But I think we're looking at a good little war here. Stylistically, this is a beautiful fight. You're not going to put the Korean Zombie away unless you sleep him. You have to sleep him. And even then, he might still get back up. He's called the fucking zombie for a reason. He's death walking. If you hit him, he better be going out. As if he doesn't, he will keep coming. I mean, prime example of that, watch his fight with him and Ortega. Ortega was beating the ever-living shit out of him. And the Korean Zombie just kept coming and coming and coming. On the other side of that spectrum, the only time you're going to stop him is if you knock him out. I'll get really fucking lucky with a stupid fucking elbow. Ige, on the other hand, that dude, he is a fucking machine. A goddamn machine. He does not stop. I mean, he's beat the likes of Boga. Let me try that again. Barboza, fucking Bektik. I mean, there's a fucking list a mile long. People who he's put in fucking good fights with. I mean, let's even go as far as to say his only fight that he's lost in the last fucking 3 years or 2 years, 2 or 3 years, has been to fucking Calvin Cater, which that dude's no walk in the park, even though Max Holloway made him look like he is.
Yeah, but Max Holloway does that to everybody.
Yeah, this is true. But they don't call him 50K Ige for nothing. The dude is fucking full of highlights. So you're going to see a really fucking interesting fight. And we're definitely going to get a fight of the night right here, I think, in this fight. Because the rest of them, none of them scream fight of the night. None of them even scream fucking submission of the night or knockout of the night to me. This is your best bet if you're a casual fan to tune in. This is the only fight you need to tune in for. The other two that we very briefly talked about you don't need to tune in for. But this one is well worth turning in for. The rest of this card was just put together so these guys could have a main event. And of course, it's a hangover card. So we know we're going to get a shit card after a fucking pay-per-view. This is the epitome of that hangover. Although this might be as bad as my hangover from last weekend. Maybe. With the plus side being your hangover will be done by 10 o'clock. But to be quite honest here, I like Danny Ige in this. However, I can't vote against the Korean Zombie. I can never vote against the Korean Zombie. Chan Sung Jung is a fucking animal. I think he gets it done, avenges his last loss, and maybe we get to see him try to make another run at the title again. And I think it's going to go the distance because Ige doesn't go out.
I can second that. One, I again, after him coming back from his mandatory service in South Korea, I'm happy that to see him on another card. I fucking love Chen Sung Jung. I fucking love that guy. That like some of his fights will go down in the fucking history books of MMA in general because that man can take fucking bomb after bomb after bomb, perfectly lined up, perfectly planted, not seeing him coming. He can eat every single thing that somebody can throw at him and isn't even fucking phased. That man is fucking insane. But Danny Gay's a strong, accurate, precise motherfucker. And he's gonna have to put some fucking work in. So I do want to say Chen Sung Jung strictly because he's hard as fuck to knock out, and he's a quick little man. He is fast as fuck, and he's elusive, and he's real fucking fluid with his footwork. He's a slick bitch. So I would love to see the Korean Zombie come back and get a W after his last loss. That'd make me pretty happy.
I gotta say, this one's got me a little bit split. On one hand, Chan Sung Jung is dangerous anywhere the fight can go. If it stays on the feet, he can punch and kick the living shit out of you from just about anywhere. If it goes to the ground, he's one of the most dangerous motherfuckers submission-wise the UFC has to offer, period. On the other hand, Dan Ige, they don't call him 50K Ige for nothing. He wasn't Dynamite Dan for no reason because he's got pillow fucking hands. Dan Ige will fucking hurt a dude. And it doesn't matter if he does it in the first round or if he's got to weather 4 to get there in the 5th and give it to you hard. Dan Ige is one of the most dangerous motherfuckers in this division, period. This is a real tough match to call. I feel like I agree completely. I think this one goes the distance. I don't think either one of these dudes has what it takes to put the other one out because they're both so fucking tough and neither one of them know how to quit. As much as it pains me to say it, I think Ige is going to be able to edge out the Korean Zombie. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think this is going to be a fucking battle of attrition if ever there was one. I think both of these dudes leave this fucking match at the end bloodied and fucking battered because that's the type of fucking fights they both put on. But I think at the end of the day, when the chips are all down and everything's pushed into the fucking center, I think Ige has just the slightest fucking edge over the Zombie, in my opinion. And I don't think it's going to be a fucking fun ride getting there. But I think at the end of the night, I think we're going to see 50K Ige get his hand raised one more time. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that means that Chan Sung Jung is done. And I've heard a lot of fucking MMA journalists saying that the zombie's on his road to retirement. I think that's about the most ignorant fucking thing you could ever fucking say right now. Considering the fucking resume of this man and the performance he just put on, regardless of the outcome of it, the performance itself would say that that's a stupid fucking thing to say. But the fact that they are giving him Dan Ige as a fucking headliner should tell you how fucking dangerous and relevant that both of these men are. It's gonna be a fucking war. It's gonna be a fucking war. But I think Ige can just ever so slightly edge this one out, man. But the only way to find out for sure is to tune in Saturday night when the UFC goes live. Like TJ mentioned, the good thing about this card is that it comes on early. So even if your bedtime is relatively early, you can still make it because the main card starts at 6 p.m. Central. The main event should be over and done with before 9:30ish at the very latest, I'm guessing. And that's assuming that these nobody fights go the distance all the way down the fucking card, which I'm betting a lot of them will. But that being said, before we get out of here, I do want to take just a moment and thank these fine gentlemen for taking part in this shit talking and shenanigans that we get up to around here. So first and foremost, if somebody wants to get that purple strap chasing diet and workout routine down, how can they get a hold of you after the show and get on the plane, RJ?
Well, if you want to do that, you can hit me up over at RJ MMA Official over there on Instagram, and then you can follow it up with Meter's lovely name, Fuck Matt Brown. I noticed that whenever you're talking, and I started to giggle to myself. Yeah, fuck Matt Brown. Or you could go over to Discord, which is linked in the description to this video and has been down here the entire time. And hit me up over there with a hashtag fuck Matt Brown. Because his prime was 15 years ago, but his students at Immortal MMA in Lewis Center, Ohio still think that he's the shit. Which he's mediocre at best now. Yeah, you can go over there, and also while you're there hashtagging fuck Matt Brown, you can go to the fan Q&A section and leave us some lovely questions that we can answer the next week.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciate it. And with that being said, that will send us across the octagon to my co-host here. More often than not, if someone at this point in the game does not know where in Wisconsin that they can find themselves some delicious cheese curds and maybe how to wander their way up to Kenosha to meet themselves a crippler, how can they get them directions from you, Mr. TJ?
And tune in Wednesday nights right here on the YouTubes, here 9:30 Central Time. Of course, I'm here on Thursdays with the very few exceptions to that policy. But yeah, hit me up on the Instagram. I don't post on there, but I will gladly take a message and shoot you one back. Other than that, you guys definitely see me here every Thursday night. And for those of you that do all of that wonderful fucking hashtagging and Discord-y shit, do it to it. Follow all the social medias for this. We're glad to answer questions. They'll pass them along to me. Trust me, I don't do Discord, so you're not going to see me in there. I don't do all that other shit. So I'm an anti-social media person pretty much for the most part. But yes, hit us up here. Everybody else will do it for me. They'll send the messages on over. Don't worry. We'll keep a pulse on the community even without being in the community.
Damn right. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I always appreciate it. That being said, that is all we have got for this particular evening. Like I said here, follow us on all the socials. We are on all of them, Facebook, Instagram. If you are hearing this, you can also see us do this show live pretty much every Thursday on youtube.com/I'mNoJoe. If you are seeing this live, I'm sorry. You can listen to us in all audio background noise without the distractions. Anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. Pick it up to your podcast consumption platform of choice. If you enjoy the shit we get up to around here, support the show. Patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. Gives you access to behind the scenes, the unaired shit, and the unairable things that we can't even really say any more than that about for legal reasons. You'll see. But we are going to call that all for this particular episode. So if you do enjoy what we get up to around here, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode of the shit we get up to. If, on the other hand, you feel we are just a bunch of bearded fucksticks and some weird little kid that we keep letting hang around, talk out our ass every goddamn week, give us a thumbs down. We earned it and we won't dispute it. That being said, though, we are going to call it all for this fine evening. So until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless you thought we were going to let the kid get out without getting one last jab in. No beard.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.